Identifying types of collisions. So there are three types of collisions that we will be encountering in this course. The first is called inelastic. So those are when two things collide and they stick to each other, right? So they're sticking or they're squishing. Recoil is the opposite of that. I have two things that are stuck together and then they come apart. And then finally, elastic are when you have two things collide and they bounce off of each other. So inelastic, what are clues that I have in inelastic collision? Well, if I'm looking for words in a word problem, the words stick together or collide or hit and move together or sticks to, sticks into, are all clues that what I'm looking at is an inelastic collision. If I have clues in the problem, if I start with two masses and end up with one mass, or I start with two velocities and I end up with one velocity, then that's an inelastic collision. Or if I have pictures, right? So here I have two objects, one's going this way and one's standing still, and in the end they're stuck together, right? So each one has its own arrow or knot, but in the end, the two things are stuck together. They started apart, they're stuck together, and if there is an arrow, it applies to both of those objects. So those are three different ways in which you can tell that a collision is inelastic. How can you tell if you have recoil? So the clues are, there are the words shot from or shot out of, or thrown or pushed apart, right? Then the clues in the problem involve, well, oftentimes involve arrows or cannonballs or bullets, things that are thrown, people are pushing apart or pushing off of something. What they do is they start together, right? So I have an arrow in a bow, it's starting with the bow, and then it shoots out. Cannonballs in the cannon, it shoots out. People are stuck together, they push apart. I have something and I throw it away. It used to be with me, now it's someplace else. So in the pictures, I start out stuck together, and if there's a velocity, there's one velocity, one arrow. And then in the end, they separate. And usually with a recoil problem, they not only separate, but they go in opposite directions, right? So that's another clue. If they're going in opposite directions, then chances are it was a recoil. And they started out together. Finally, elastic collisions. So the clues in a word problem that you're looking for elastic collisions are words like bounce, or do not stick, or move apart. And the clues in the problem are that you start with two masses and two different velocities, and you end up with two masses and two different velocities. So each object stays separate before and after. Each object has its own arrow if it has an arrow. So nothing's stuck together. There's not one arrow that applies to both. You have a velocity and a mass for each object.